Today I want to show you guys how to make steel roses. Piece of sheet metal. This is, I think, 24, 26 gauge, something like that. The thinner it is, the easier it is to work with, but it doesn't really matter. Whatever you want to work with it, you can do. You take a piece of sheet metal. I'm using 10 snips, however you want to do it. If you got a little air nibbler, it might be easier, but cut it to about 3-inch squares. And then take that 3-inch square, and if you want to draw lines and punch the exact center, I just drilled the center out and put a hole in the middle right there. Whatever you're going to use, I'm probably going to put this on about 1/4 inch stock, so I make it just a little bit smaller than a 1/4 inch there, and cut round around the edges. And we're going to cut it into five strips straight in. I'll show you how to do that now. You don't want to touch that hole. Leave yourself a decent little margin between the inside cut and that hole, and try and keep this distance from the end of the cut to the edge of the hole the same all the way around. In order to do 5, I usually go halfway across, straight across, then back up just a little bit, so it's a little less than halfway across. See, we're trying to keep those distances there equal. Now I'm going to cut this right about halfway through this. About halfway between here and here is where I'll put that cut. Now I've got to split this piece into thirds, so I'll end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the goal. About there. And we're making a steel rose here. And one thing that a lot of people forget is that God doesn't make perfect, exact, picture-perfect roses that are exactly the same. There are no two that look identical. So, you don't want to make yours, everything doesn't need to be perfect on this. You want to kind of just let it take some natural flow. Now, there we go. Trying to maintain that same distance all the way around. Excuse me. After that, we're going to come right through here. I'm just going to round the edges off. Each one's a little bit different. There you go, there's 5. Flip it over and you can continue to do it right or left-handed, whichever one you are. As we try and do the other side and do it this way, it's really difficult. So, I find the easiest way is just to flip it over and cut into that piece there a little bit. Didn't mean to do that. Twist that up a little bit so I can get down to it. And like I said, no two roses are the same, so that'll be just fine. That will not affect us at all. Go ahead and round this one off. You're going to make 3 of these. There we go. Flip that over. You'll notice this metal is a little bit rusty. It doesn't matter because we're going to put it in the forge, and we're going to heat it several times, and we'll get that rust off there without a problem. We'll wire brush it before we're done anyways. Alright. I've got these 3 pieces. What I'm going to do is grab another hammer here. My preference is a cross peen. And I like a big hammer. I know a lot of guys use different style hammers, but this is just a cross peen hammer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come through here and I'm going to texture this flour out. First off, I'm going to flatten it a little bit. I don't heat it for this portion, because you don't really need to. I'm just going to use this edge right here, the cross peen, to texture the roses. Now I'm going to make the line of this cross peen. I'm going to have follow the line, so I'm going to kind of do it like this, and then just rotate the hammer so it falls right along there, like this. You can see they got the I can't tell if you can see that or not. Yeah, you can see that. You get some texturing in here. And I usually only texture the inside. You can do both sides if you want. But it doesn't take very long. And as you do that, that cross peening is going to move metal in this general direction. But because you're coming over the edge of it a little bit, see how this edge here is getting kind of misshapen too? Ends up being shaped more like a rose petal. So I'm going to do all three of these pieces of plate the same way, and then we'll come back to it. Alright, I got all those all textured up real nice and neat. And what I'm going to use for the, make sure you can see what I'm trying to show there. There we go. What I'm going to use for the stem is a piece of 1/4 inch square stock. I find I like it about 10 inches long is a good measurement for me. And I know that that's about 9 inches. It's right about there is where I want to cut it. I had to bend it to get that part down into the forge. This is just a simple little cutting tool. I don't want that to fall back there. I got too much cardboard and stuff back there. I'll just take this and bend it a little bit. And my quench bucket's way over there. That's poor planning. Gotta set that over there. And it can cool a bit. I'm going to take this piece here, throw it back in the forge. Just got to heat it up and straighten it back out. And oh snap. Hang on, boys and girls. The UPS man's here and I think he has a sleep number bed. My wife is going to be happy. This has to go on hold for a minute. Alright, well, I might have to go put a sleep number bed here together in a few minutes. But before I do that, I'll finish up what I'm trying to do here. That's really not very hot, but I don't need a lot of heat in this. This is just 1/4 inch stock. This is cold rolled, I believe. Now you can do one of two things. I'm going to need a point on the end of this. I could either, it's not focusing, I can either hammer it out to a point, or I can put it on a belt sander. For today, just for sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and put it on the belt sander and just take this end down to a point so that I can place this down on that point. Alright, there we go. We got it down to a pretty decent point there. And I'm going to use a welder because I've got a little, just a cheap 110 flux core welder. What I'm going to do is I'm going to weld these on here. We'll put all three of them on here. And the way I do it, they usually put together like this. Set it down in a vise, something like that. I'll tack the bottom side. I'll flip it over. Stick the second one on. I'll weld that one in. And that will usually melt that point down flat, which was a problem for a while. So I figured if I had a big enough hole here for the third one, when I set the third one on, you could more or less, you'll have a flat spot there, but you'll just melt this into the whole works. And it takes a few tries to get it right, so you might want to practice with just some blank squares before you make these. Another tip that I found was, for one, sort your pieces. They'll come out different sizes. If you have one that's bigger or smaller than the others, go biggest to smallest on the top, because that small piece is going to be the center of your rose, which is going to be the smallest petals. Also, when you put them on here, make sure that you put one on here, the next one, you don't want all these petals to line up perfect. That's not how flowers look. So when you tack them, rotate it a little bit so that those lines don't line up. It'll give it a more natural feel. And it'll end up looking something like that. Now before I go over to weld this, I'm going to take this and actually hammer these back down flat so I can get them all real flush in the middle. I'm going to hammer that centerpiece. They take a curve to the leaves as you texture along here with that cross beam. So I'm going to flatten them down, weld them on, and we'll be right back. Alright, here's the first one. That's what it should end up kind of looking like there. And the weld's on the back side. I know that's an ugly weld, but I'm a hobbyist blacksmith. I'm not a very good welder. But that's the flux core too. That's all that spatter. It looks horrible, but that's what one and flux core does. I'll take that and brush all that spatter off there and clean that up. Get the slag off there, and get the rest of them put on there. All right, there's the second one on there. You notice how the petals are offset, and when you weld that on there, that top little piece gets red hot. While it's still in the vise, I'll hammer it down to where it just ends up being a little bit of a nub, and I'll weld that next piece onto that nub right there. And you'll be able to see the rest of it here in a minute. Alright, and there she is with the third one on. You'll notice that I've got a decent size bump in there. That's really not, there it goes, it's focusing there. Decent size little bump. I built a little bit of metal up there as I'm welded on. You can see I got a hole right there, but that hole's just fine. It's not going to cause us any problems. I'm going to turn these petals up next. So next we're going to heat this up. We'll stick this down into the forge like that. Heat this up, and then we're going to start working these petals. So I'm going to teach you how to do that. Alright, I'm going to start this out using a, I don't have to use a gloved hand, but I'm going to. Just because I'm eventually going to need to get there. You can see my fancy forge here. If you haven't seen any of my other videos of my forge, it's a double sink, just like it looks like. If you look down there, you can see dryer vent comes up into the bottom of it. Which is a little piece of, there's a metal pipe there with a clean out on the bottom. My dryer vent runs over to my real fancy forged air right there. That's a, I think a $20 hair dryer at Walmart. So, I guess you can call this forging on the cheap. I can start out holding this like this, but that's going to eventually get warm enough to where it's not going to work so well with my bare hands. So I'm going to just start with a welding glove on there. And next, I'll show you the tool you need to do this. It's right there. Fancy pair of needle nose pliers. That's all you need. And once this gets red, I'm going to begin turning these corners up. It's difficult at first because you got to get them separated one from another. There we go. I'm going to turn the right side as I'm looking at it. The right side, make sure you can see that. Very right side, I'm going to twist it up. Now I got to work kind of fast because you lose heat fast in this. There we go. You got some good red color in there. Yeah. It's another reason why you want to make sure that oh, hang on just a second. I'm gonna get all this turned up here real quick if I can. Yeah, another reason why you want to make sure that they're offset, these petals are offset with the layer below it, is they're easier to pick up one side and get them separated so that you can work with one layer at a time. So first things first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the right side edge up on all of those petals. I'm going to put it back in here, reheat it, and I'm going to start turning up the left side of each petal. Actually, I'm going to stand them up a little bit now. Go ahead and stand it up. I have to be careful. See, that's not bending where I want it to. If I start pushing on it too hard, I'm going to end up breaking the metal. Oh, sorry, I smacked you there. But I'll break the metal if I heat that up, or if I don't heat the right spot up. I'm trying to work cold metal. All right, still, yeah, it's bending where I want it to now. That side's not, so I'm going to make sure I put the right side down into the heat this time around. That fire down there, if you're running a coal forge, that fire will get anywhere, I think, you know, upwards of well above 2,000 degrees. So on thin sheet like this, that's gonna burn up real fast if you're not careful. So you gotta watch what you're doing. Now you can kind of see how it looks there. I'm gonna come back and twist that inside edge in next. There we go. Twist that left side. Just bend them in. Now, I lied when I said this is the only tool you'll need, because I use a pair of channel locks too. Now, all you use these for, kind of work my way around it and get everything kind of drawn in together. Now we're starting to, you can kind of start to see the shape of the bud in the middle. I have one more step that I want to do to that inside before I move on to the outside, or the next, I guess, yeah, it'll be the outside, but one more step I want to do before I move on to the next layer. I'm going to take these, those pliers, I'll take the tips, the very tip, kind of bend it back over a little bit. And when I get done with that, I'll probably, because I got enough heat in this, so I'm bending some other stuff out of the way, and go ahead and grab my channel locks that I set somewhere. I'll tighten that right back down a little bit, because that inside one you really want to be kind of tight. You see all that falling off of there? That's just that's the scale, the carbon coming out of that metal. And I'm going to set it. Now the next ones I can't work quite as easily because I can't set that face down into the fire. I got to heat it one side at a time. I'll heat up a side, I'll work that side and rotate it, and then do the other side. There we go. And you got to watch that you don't get your top one too hot. There we go. It's going to start bending up that right side. And it doesn't have to be the right side that you bend up first, just so long as you always put the same side above the next one. Otherwise, they won't look right. If you look at a rose, that's how a rose is. I believe that's how God makes them. So we're trying to imitate that as well as I can, anyhow. You can kind of see how those petals are starting to form up there. So you kind of a top view. I'm going to come through, I'm going to pull these back out, and I'm going to do the third one. There we go. Looks good. Do the last one. There we go. Kind of, you get that windmill look. It's really what you're looking for on that first round. Now what you can do, I haven't always done it. Actually, don't do it very often, but you can leave one or two of these bottom leaves droop like it's a more mature rose bud. Like it's like the flowers that's kind of starting to die off a little bit. There's also, I didn't put one on this one, but there's a green spot. There's a little piece of greenery. It's shaped like a little star almost. That's it's from the bud actually opening. It's where the greenery opens and hangs. You can cut one of those and put it on before you put your first row of flower petals on, and that gives a real neat look too. I've done that before. That's a real neat look. I just always forget to do it when I start. Now I'm going to take this second row if I can do it. Kind of squeeze those in a little bit. There we go. Push this left side up some. I think I really got those pushed up very good yet. There we go. We'll come back and we'll pull the tops of these back just a little bit. The rose is just about done. Yeah, you can kind of see it there. You can see all that scale coming out. I just kind of bounce the stem off the anvil there for a while until that scale goes down. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a lot of scale in the middle of your rose. There's a lot. But next thing I'm going to use is this, my blacksmith goo, I guess you call it. Purgatory Ironworks here on YouTube. Purgatory Ironworks. He has a video with a recipe for it. It's turpentine, beeswax, and linseed oil. I don't remember if it's boiled or raw linseed oil. He's got a video that shows you how to make it. His turns out more like a paste. I used a little bit different mixture on it, because I saw a lot of different mixtures on it as far as the how many parts of what to what on it. His turns out more like a paste. Kind of wish mine had turned out more of a paste than it did, but you know, it's life, and it actually has worked pretty good for me. If you need to take a rag, dip it in there and wipe it on, or I'm going to take this. Yeah, I don't think we're too hot. I'm just going to take this, if my rose will fit down in there, I'm going to dunk it in and pull it back out. It's smoking off just a little bit, so it's a little hotter than what you really don't want it to smoke. At least that's what I've been told. I'm going to turn it upside down here. I guess you can't see it smoke, unless I show you. Turn it upside down here, and let that finish run down the stem some. Yeah, it's probably not going to run down enough to cover the whole stem, so I'm just going to go ahead and put a little bit of this on here. I don't think it'll hurt to get a little bit on your hands. I mean, it's not going to do you any wonders, but I doubt if it'll kill you every now and then. I'm going to set that there. We're going to let it dry like that. It has to cool off enough to where that'll dry, and that'll make a real good weatherproof type coating on it, so that if you give it to somebody, it doesn't just rust up on them. And then we're going to come back after it dries up, and I'll just take a towel. I won't show you this part because, well, if you can't figure out how to do this, then you know you're probably trying the wrong thing. Because all you got to do is take a towel, just kind of buff it up, and you know, a cloth, probably not a terry cloth because it'll get hung up on all this. You leave little pieces of that cloth in there, but just a nice clean piece of cloth and just kind of buff it up. And because this has got that beeswax, it'll leave kind of a dull finish on it, and that'll shine it up just a little bit and give it a real nice look. But there it is. There is your Blacksmithed steel rose. Now, if you want to get, that's a good way for them to cool right there. I set them right there in the hardy hole. Makes a pretty neat little rose. The only other thing I'm going to suggest that you might try, if you want to, especially if you want to give this to somebody special, or maybe if you want to sell them for people to, you know, give away to their girlfriends or whatever, you go to the, usually the health food stores have essential oils and that sort of stuff. There is an essential rose oil. It is more expensive than any of us are willing to pay for it, really. I mean, I think a little bitty bottle's a couple $100. It's ridiculous. But there's what they call a rose water and a rose. Basically, they're very similar to a rose oil. It's just not the essential oil, and they'll do the same thing. Put a few drops of that in here after this rose has dried up and the finish is cleared up on it. Put a few drops right down there in the middle, and you'll have a little bit of a rose scent to it. Makes a nice touch if you're gonna give it away or sell it to a customer. You know, it makes a real nice little touch to it that it actually smells like it. So there you go. That's my take on the steel rose. Any comments or suggestions or complaints or ideas, leave them in the comment section there. I'd say send me a private message, but since they've changed this Google thing, I'm sure the YouTube thing it's all Google Plus stuff now, and I have a Facebook. If you look up the Possum Forge, I think it is, you'll find me on Facebook. I have a Twitter account that just a personal one. I don't really use for any of the blacksmithing stuff, but I have what else do I have? I have this YouTube channel. I have Instagram. I'm just running out of the ability to keep up with all this crap. So I really don't keep up with the Google Plus stuff. So if you send me a message, I probably won't see it on there unless you post it as a comment on a video and let me know that you sent me a message somewhere. I'm just not going to see it. I'm not trying to ignore anybody. I got 6 kids in the house right now. That's a miracle I had the 20 minutes to stand out here and do this today. So, like I said, any ideas, comments, suggestions, leave them here, or leave me a message here telling me you sent me a message somewhere else. The Possum Forge at Gmail is my email address if you wanted to send me anything there. And I thank you guys for watching. If you want to see more blacksmith videos, let me know. Subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Thanks, guys.